From Sochi, Russia, a new diplomatic storm is erupting in the Gulf. Qatar has pledged to pursue all necessary legal measures after what it describes as an unprecedented Israeli strike targeting Hamas figures on its soil. The message, delivered during the Russia GCC ministerial meeting, signals not only a direct confrontation with Israel, but also the potential unraveling of fragile pathways to peace across the Middle East. Qatar's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Sultan bin Saud Al Muraikhi, used his platform in Sochi to issue one of the strongest condemnations yet. Speaking firmly, he accused Israel of destabilizing the region through what he called aggressive escalatory policies. We hold the government of the Israeli entity fully responsible for the escalating regional tensions and the grave consequences of its aggressive escalatory policies, which are leading to unprecedented catastrophic repercussions that threaten the collapse of all peaceful solution pathways in the region. Sultan bin Saud Al Muraikhi. The Qatari minister framed the strike not just as a violation of sovereignty, but as a turning point with potentially catastrophic consequences for diplomacy. The state of Qatar will not hesitate to defend its sovereignty and the integrity of its territory and has formed a legal team to take all necessary legal measures in response to this attack. Sultan bin Saud Al Muraikhi. With this statement, Qatar signaled a shift from diplomatic protest to concrete action. Officials in Doha confirm a legal team has already been formed to pursue cases in international courts, likely under frameworks of the International Court of Justice or the International Criminal Court. The Israeli strike, which targeted Hamas operatives reportedly sheltering in the Gulf state, marks an escalation of Israel's campaign far beyond Gaza or Lebanon. According to regional analysts, it is the first known Israeli operation conducted on Qatari soil, raising profound questions about international law, state sovereignty, and regional security. Qatar, long a host of Hamas political leaders and a major financial backer of Gaza, finds itself at the crossroads, balancing its ties with Western allies like the United States while fending off Israeli accusations of supporting terrorism. The backdrop of the statement is equally significant. The Russia GCC ministerial meeting in Sochi has emerged as an alternative forum for Gulf nations to voice grievances outside the Western orbit. Moscow, eager to expand its influence in the Gulf, has positioned itself as a potential mediator, even as its ties with Israel remain complex. Analysts suggest Qatar's decision to voice its protest in Russia rather than in New York or Geneva reflects a growing diversification of diplomatic channels in a multipolar world order. The strike and Qatar's response have drawn mixed reactions across the Middle East. Palestinian factions hailed Qatar's defiance, while Israel maintained silence on operational details, sticking to its long-standing policy of neither confirming nor denying overseas operations. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, both present in Sochi, refrained from immediate comment, yet officials privately acknowledged that any Israeli expansion of hostilities into the Gulf could destabilize ongoing normalization efforts. International observers warn the dispute could reignite the debate over whether Hamas's presence in Doha is a legitimate political office or, as Israel contends, a safe haven for militants. What legal measures Qatar intends to pursue remains uncertain. The International Court of Justice has seen previous cases where nations alleged violations of sovereignty through military operations, but enforcement is often slow and politically fraught. By framing the Israeli strike as not only an attack on its territory but a challenge to international norms, Doha hopes to rally wider diplomatic support. Past precedents, from Nicaragua's claims against the United States in the 1980s to Iran's complaints over sanctions, suggest such legal battles can become symbolic instruments of international pressure, even if practical outcomes take years. The implications extend far beyond Qatar. Israel's readiness to strike outside its immediate conflict zones underscores a widening security doctrine, one that sees enemies pursued wherever they are found. For Gulf monarchies, the precedent is unsettling. If Israel can act unilaterally in Qatar, what prevents similar actions elsewhere in the region? The incident also places Washington in a delicate position. The US maintains its largest Middle East airbase in Qatar, but is also Israel's closest ally. As Qatar pushes forward with legal measures, it tests not just Israel's resolve, but the willingness of international institutions to address acts of extraterritorial warfare. From Sochi to Doha, the ripples of this diplomatic clash are already spreading. Qatar's vow to take all necessary legal measures could mark the beginning of a prolonged standoff. one fought not just on the battlefield, but in courtrooms, conference halls, and international summits. Whether this path leads to accountability or further escalation remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: the fragile architecture of Middle East peace has been dealt another heavy blow. We hold the government of the Israeli entity fully responsible for the escalating regional tensions and the grave consequences of its aggressive escalatory policies, which are leading to unprecedented catastrophic repercussions that threaten the collapse of all peaceful solution pathways in the region.
إن دولة قطر لن تتهاون في الدفاع عن سيادتها وسلامة أراضيها، وباشرت بتشكيل فريق قانوني لاتخاذ كافة الإجراءات القانونية للرد على هذا الهجوم.
The state of Qatar will not hesitate to defend its sovereignty and the integrity of its territory, and has formed a legal team to take all necessary legal measures in response to this attack.